would you want to come here as opposed to some other places? And so the first tenet is we are very much about creating thoughtful experiences. So we want and insist that all of the projects that we work on are working towards the resolution of real human problems. So it's not enough to basically say like, oh gee whiz, this is cool technology. What we really want to say is like, that's cool technology, but how can we intersect that with things that are meaningful and powerful that actually change people and their behaviors and the way they see the world or the way the world operates. And we do that through the rigorous application of long-standing human-centered design practices and the use of design thinking. So I'm going to pull out the Tim Brown IDEO card here, but this is basically like the processes and things that those early thinkers started from. We have now, we very much focus on and want to bring to life. The second is we are always interdisciplinary and collaborative, both in teaching and in learning. So one of the things that you'll see in our perspective is that the way we create student groups, and one of the things you should know is that this program is deeply dedicated to working in teams. You will form teams early on, and while they may shift and morph, you need to get comfortable in working and knowing each other for many, many hours at a time. You'll be in close proximity to people. And so with that, we try to form teams that bring people together from different backgrounds and different points of view. So that's the first part in like not only in learning, but we can come together from different backgrounds, right? So many of you have psychology backgrounds or come from research backgrounds or computer science or design, and we try to build teams such that you can draw from each other's experiences. And then the one thing to remember is that we are very iterative as well. So we learn, make, critique, reflect, and refine iteratively. So one of the things that you'll see and one of the things you'll have to learn is learning to bias towards making. There's a lot of issues or problems with overanalyzing a problem, like learning too much about it or trying to step back and saying like, well, what could possibly we do? I would say, go ahead and make 8 things. Do it pretty poorly to start and figure out and find out which ways those things can be successful. But then as part of all of that, like go fast, take chances. We also want to bring in industry professionals to help you learn from them and their unique perspectives. So, we're an academic learning environment. We want people to explore and think about new problems and try new things. But at the same time, we don't want you to go out into industry unprepared for some of the realities of doing UX design in industry. And so in order to accomplish that, and especially given that we have 1 year together to do all of this, we try to bring in as many people as possible for touch points in each of our classes through critique, through sponsorship, through the like guest lectures and any possible way that we can bring industry in and get you prepared so that at least you know a little something about what it's like to do UX in the quote real world. And then finally, one of the things that distinguishes us, I think, is that we focus very strongly on creating T-shaped individuals, which is to say you have breadth skills in a number of different areas, but then you also have deep expertise in a number of different areas. And so what we see as breadth skills are things like problem solving, the design and development process and how those things work together, how you learn to solve problems through design and development and their cooperation, how to make decisions collaboratively, which is part of our team-orientedness, right? Which is like, how can you negotiate what you think is the best idea versus someone else? And how can you work to kind of create the best solution based on a number of different opinions and voices? And then finally, being able to actually effectively present and defend your work. This is one of the things, if you're curious about this, like listen to Mike Montero's talk about growing junior designers. It's too bad. How many of you are here through this entire week? He's speaking on Wednesday at Substantial. So if you could find a way to get a ticket, he'll be a hoot, I'm sure. But one of the things that Mike Montero talks about at Mule Design is that a designer is not anything until they can defend their work and their point of view. And we go very hard on you being able to articulate your design decisions and being able to say, like, this is not only why we think it's the best, but we can prove it. So that's a thing that we focus on as far as the breadth skills. And then we look in depth, especially around our prototyping curriculum is very strong, and we have like prototyping as problem solving is one of the core things that we do in the program. Related to prototyping, we also go deep in information architecture, like an area of specialization for me, but a way for us to think about how things are organized, how people think about problems, and how you can manage their the construction of their mental models with the problems that you're trying to solve. And then finally, some depth in ethnographic research. One of the things that defines traditional human-centered design is a focus on actually identifying what the problem is before you even begin. And so with that, I believe, and one of the things that I teach regularly is how to do ethnographic research in the service of design challenges. And then finally, videography, because one of the core things that we found time and time again is that being able to talk about your work in short video format is incredibly powerful. And so not only in video prototyping, but also just in storytelling in video form and presenting your work in a way that's encapsulated. We go pretty hard on being able to produce and defend videos of the work that you create. So this kind of works out this way. We have that cross-discipline knowledge, and then depth in prototyping, IXD research and videography. So that's what you can kind of expect from any of that. We're going to talk in depth about what classes we're teaching, but this is the